Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about this really weird idea that low frequency per body part training is necessary to prevent overtraining or for any sort of ideal muscle growth or anything else. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. And this is interesting because you see gym bros who read magazines, they get all this stuff from all the original Weider publications, and that's where all this idea comes from of training a body part once a week. Everyone from gym bros to massive bodybuilders who say they can't train a muscle more than once a week. They can't squat more than once a week. At most maybe twice, or then they overtrain. They can't handle it. Their body can't handle it. And that's interesting because you see elite lifters all over the world, oftentimes who are lifting way more weight than any of these guys, who squat every day. Or they do big lifts every single day. Jamie Lewis over with Chaos and Pain, who walked into powerlifting, thought powerlifting was a joke and decided he was going to be a record holder, trained for powerlifting specifically for a year and walked in and crushed the 181 pound class world records. Now he normally weighs over 200, but he has a water cutting method he uses to get down to the 181. Walked in and just crushed records pretty easily. In fact, he was second in the world while doing it all without a belt. Then he put a belt on and broke squat and deadlift records. Pretty impressive. But he advocates you push, pull legs every day. So he does some sort of push, some sort of pull, and some sort of squat like 6 days a week. Right? And that's what he advocates. And the guy's ripped, he's jacked, and strong. Then you had the most extreme example you have are the Bulgarians. The Bulgarians were coming in and having a minimum of 18 squat sessions per week. They would come in, this counts all their accessory work and stuff too, but they come in and were training 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. And I'm not advocating that anyone do this. This is a whole different experiment their coaches ran, and they walked in and smashed Olympic records. Little tiny country, Bulgaria. But they were hitting max squats 3 times a day. They were hitting training maxes 3 times a day. So that meant if their max squat was about 600, they were walking in and squatting 550, 560, 570 in the morning, midday, and then once again at night, Monday through Saturday. Alright, people need to think about that. And these guys, because they were doing the Olympics, have access to less drugs than a lot of bros in the gym do, because they're limited in what they can get away with and pass the drug testing. You got to put that into perspective here. Yet people run around talking about how they're overtrained. They can't do it. And at a certain point, you got to look at them and go, why don't you guys worry about fatigue management? And again, I think if anything, the fact that you see bodybuilders who train in this way, they come in, destroy a body part, 15, 20 sets of just high reps, tons of volume, just throwing it at any given body part, and then don't train it again for a week, and they still get massive, particularly their legs. You see that happen, and yet they still get big. You know what? That's not a testament to their training methods, because their training methods are horrific. Like any exercise scientist will kind of look at what a lot of these guys do and go, not so good. Based on their research on regular athletes, their research on people not on drugs. What this isn't a testament to their training methods. It's a testament to when you combine good genetics for hypertrophy with enough drugs that you can get away with absurd training. That's what it's a testament to. And that's the thing, people will see something like that and say, hey, they got results, so it must work. And then they assume that their training style played a significant role there. No, it shows how amazing ultra high doses of drugs are in people with the right genetics to be receptive to them. It shows that they can train like absolute fucking morons. That they can train like morons and still get absolutely massive. It's a testament to how powerful drugs are with the right genetic combination. That's what it's a testament to. It's by no means a testament to their training methods. And the thing is, it's interesting because you've always had a lot of the top experts, people who really get good results, and people who aren't on boatloads of drugs. You do see a lot of coaches out there over the years, even ones who aren't necessarily in the sports world, even over in the physique type world, who say things like stimulate, don't annihilate. Because we've known for thousands of years that it's gradual progression in workload that makes people get bigger and stronger. That's been understood. The ancient Greeks figured this out, but they figured this out back when people didn't have anabolics. It's when anabolics got thrown into the mix that people were allowed to get away with absurd training ideas. Because, I mean, we've got studies showing guys gaining 18 pounds of muscle mass while sitting on the couch on drugs. 18 pounds of solid ass muscle mass. 18 pounds. Most people need to understand, for a lot of you, that would be the amount you would gain a lifetime drug free. There are guys doing this in 5 months. Gaining a lifetime worth of solid ass muscle mass, who had already been lifting, by the way, already made their new gains. Sitting on the couch and not being allowed to exercise in the research and gaining 18 pounds of muscle while doing nothing. So people need to stop and think about that. They need to stop and think about that for a moment. But, you know, you have all this idea of, you know, stimulate, don't annihilate. And people come in, they want to annihilate. And the question I would ask you, if you are coming in and you're doing 10 to 12 reps and you're doing 15 sets for a body part, you do know that's all endurance work, right? That's all endurance work. And the people who come in and do that and then leave it alone for once a week because they've exhausted a muscle with all this endurance, they've overly fatigued it. They've exhausted it. They've trained a muscle to the point of exhaustion. You do understand that's endurance training at a certain point, right? I mean, if you come in and you train a muscle for an hour and a half, you do 15 sets of 12 reps, you're talking close to 200 reps. The same people will then go talk about sprinters versus marathon runners. And they'll be like, marathon runners do all this endurance work and look how small they are. Sprinters do short bursts of speed, short bursts of power, and they're more muscular and bigger than marathon runners. They'll say there's not always truth to that. There are other factors involved, by the way. But they'll stand right there and talk about how endurance work and endurance people have no muscle mass, but then they'll come in and train for extreme endurance. They will train a muscle to exhaustion. And the funny thing is, and they wonder why it takes them so long to gain muscle mass. Wonder why it takes them so long to gain muscle mass. And it's like they just don't get it. And it's just crazy how the people will say, well, I couldn't train with that frequency. It's like, why? Plenty of elite athletes do who lift a lot more than you do. They're stronger than you. People need to understand your amount of tonnage that you can generate and your strength absolutely can outpace recovery. Stronger lifters actually recover slower because they're hitting so much extra tonnage with every set. It's harder on their body. Yet people do this, these elite lifters. Yet other people claim they can't come in and do it even with a lighter weight. Again, you guys aren't understanding fatigue management. And the truth is, frequency of training, we've got plenty of data showing frequency of training is a big deal, just like the Norwegian study we looked at. When they took all those Norwegian IPF guys who were enrolled in the drug testing, this is a no-money sport. There's not a lot of incentive to cheat. They're enrolled in off-season drug testing. Not saying they couldn't have been using drugs, but it is a lot harder. When they took that same team and they split them up, they had one group do the exact same amount of weekly tonnage, because we know that weekly workload and weekly tonnage is a big driving factor of hypertrophy. Everyone understands that. Every expert agrees there. Workload does matter. But when they divided their frequency up and had them train 6 days a week instead of 3 and split the volume in half each workout, where they're like squatting 6 days a week. When they split that up, they gain significantly more muscle mass doing the same amount of weekly work. So the question becomes for guys who are coming in and just destroying a muscle, they're not stimulating, they're annihilating. You do realize that plenty of studies show that when the same work that you do is spread out over more days, the exact same amount of weekly work, people gain more muscle mass. Yet people want to come in and do it all at once and just annihilate a muscle, and then to the point to where they're a little short growth when you got to remember, muscles only grow for up to 2 days. 48 hours is the maximum cutoff that they grow. If you spend 2/3 of that time recovering from the workout, that eats into your growth time big time. All right, this is not the best way for anyone not on hefty doses of drugs to train, yet people do it, and it takes them longer to get progress, and then they're sore, oftentimes weaker. Come on, guys. But this idea that people have that they can't come in and train any given body part or any exercise multiple times a week is because they're caught up in this goofy mindset of just coming in and annihilating a muscle instead of stimulating a muscle. And they don't seem to understand. It's like the tortoise versus the hare. This whole idea that, just run with everything you have and then, you're exhausted and the tortoise eventually catches you. Because that's the way the human body works. The human body adapts best to small gradual increases in workload, consistent increases in workload over the days, weeks, months, and years. That's your ticket. That's your ticket to getting bigger. That's your ticket to getting stronger, is understanding the way the human body adapts. And the human body doesn't adapt to shocking it. It adapts to progressively just making it work a little bit harder over the long term. That's the best way to get bigger and stronger consistently, best way to do it without injury, the best way to do it without burning out. That is your preferred model. That's what actually works. But, that's not popular. It's not sexy to teach people slow, progressive overload. It's popular to teach people, come in and do 15 sets for a muscle and exhaust it, and triple drop sets and forced reps and 8-hour arm workouts. And then to where you can't walk the next day, because that's hardcore. That's hardcore. But the reality is, that's just showmanship. That's just for show, to get people to buy products, to get people to watch something. That's not reality. That's not what the body responds to best. And the guys who are getting results doing that silly shit, you might want to think about what genetic gifts do they have and what drugs are they actually using that you don't have, because that does make a difference. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.